Wow. What a crazy week 16 or 15, I guess, in the books, going on to week 16. I cannot believe it's already here. We keep just crawling through. Everybody who has made it to the playoffs, congratulations. Hopefully we continue to help. Hey, guess what? We were one of the first people. Week 4, we actually said pick up Jerry McKinnon, and it looks to be paying dividends finally. And I'm excited for it. So more importantly, for Mike and I, Chargers pull off a big win yesterday. We were hoping for a couple of other losses, but we're making a step in the right direction. How you doing, Mike?
Doing well, yeah. Chargers win. They're looking pretty good to make the playoffs, and yeah, I'm in only 3 leagues, and 2 of them made the playoffs, and it looks like I'm going to win both matchups unless Alan Lazard has a huge game today, and then I lose. But I'm hoping that doesn't happen.
Yeah, I have 2-week playoffs. So the first one, I'm currently going to be down 40 points more than likely because that's what I need from Aaron Jones tonight, and I doubt that's happening. So hopefully a big week will come next week, and hey, leads perfectly into our quarterbacks because guess who my starting quarterback is? Jared Goff, 47.9% rostered. I'm one of those people rostering him because his matchup is perfect. I'm excited for it. Even this past week against the Jets, he put up a decent 14 fantasy points, but man, this offense just continues to roll. They get the Panthers, Bears, and Packers to finish out the season. It's hot. I mean, they are running so hot. It's incredible. It seems like everybody's healthy and just offensive juggernaut at this point. It's been super impressive. And the fact that they actually beat the Jets, granted, it was because Zach Wilson is horrible, but I mean, that's just part of it. And I'm excited for Jared Goff and that offense and just a Lions fan in general. They really needed this. So I'm pumped for him. You have you like that option? You have somebody you like more?
Yeah, I do like that option. I mean, Goff's QB 12 on the year. That's a starting QB in most leagues that are 12-team leagues. So really like that. Good matchups. Another one to possibly throw out there, Russell Wilson. I know it's kind of a
it's ugly this year.
Yeah, it's been tough, but the last time we saw him, he had his best game of the year. He threw 3 touchdowns and I think at 250 yards, and there's just not many guys you can find on the waivers that have that ability to do that. And he had I think almost a 30-point game against the Chiefs, which is he missed last week, but the Chiefs a couple weeks ago, and that's who he plays again in week 17. Week 16 he plays the Rams, who aren't the best, aren't the worst for quarterbacks, but yeah, it's just someone possibly a lot of people are going to be without Jalen Hurts. Possibly, that's a big hit for a lot of these playoff teams. So a guy like Goff, a guy like Russell Wilson, you can feel okay with. They have that potential to get that big game. So yeah, I definitely like that. But Goff and then Wilson for me, and Russell Wilson. And then in super deep leagues, if you want to even think about Zach Wilson, I mean, this is again very, very deep leagues where you're super desperate, which I don't think most people are. But he has some good matchups. He plays the Jacksonville, who's 27th against QBs on the year, and I think almost last since like week 10. So there could be, he could put up some points there. So, but yeah, Goff, Wilson, target those guys if you are a Jalen Hurts manager.
Well, and honestly, I'm going to bring it up because Important Nonsense loves the stash for us. Gardner Minshew is definitely a great backup. I think that he fits his offense very well. He'll be able to step in and be completely fine. So if you have Hurts, you are nervous, that's another great one, probably pretty widely available. I would be surprised if he's more than 5% rostered. But he'll step in and do just fine in that offense, and they will continue to move the ball. And in this game, they're going to need to. So I'm excited for him, and they could really seal their deal this week with Gardner Minshew under center.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think he's we've seen him. He's a good quarterback. Good. He can step right in. You got AJ Brown. You got Goddard, hopefully back. Devontae Smith, the running game. So I think, that's a good shot too.
Yeah, and so I mean, kind of touched on it earlier, but guess what? It took us 10 weeks, but we got McKinnon to over 50%. He's currently 61.1% rostered in ESPN leagues. This is super awesome, but it's happened. We don't have to talk about him anymore, thankfully. But we'll move into somebody I am kind of interested in, and it's Tyler Algier, 33.5% rostered. And I think it's really just Desmond Ridder in the fact that he throws the ball well. It wasn't a super competitive game. He surprisingly brought great life to Drake London. I was super pumped about that. But the fact that coming off the bye, Tyler Algier carried the ball 17 times, 139 yards against a Saints team, grabbed a touchdown, and logged a catch for 22.6 fantasy points. I mean, that's an awesome day. Even Cordero Patterson found the end zone in that game. It's just, that is what they want to do in Atlanta, and even against a tough run defense, the fact that he put up those numbers, as well as we found out today, Caleb Huntley is now going to be on IR. He tore his ACL and was going to be done for the year. So makes him a pretty easy option for me. I think he's, because of his availability and everything else, that they're not going to give up on him at this point, and they don't want Ritter to throw the ball a whole lot. He didn't break 100 yards yesterday, but all the targets that he did have went straight to London, and I think that's going to continue. Do you have somebody you prefer over that, or you have any interest in letting us know?
Yeah, I do have a couple guys. Before I get to that, it's obviously with the Jonathan Taylor injury, it's probably more than likely he's going to just be done for the year, right? So Deion Jackson, Zach Moss, is there someone that you'd prefer there? I know Zach Moss had like 24 carries or something that game. So what's your opinion on those guys?
Yeah, that's tough because, like you said, it was just so random. I mean, I guess random is probably not the best word, but it's hard to choose from those two just because of the fact that they were both used. I mean, we saw how well Jackson was early in the year. Now that Zach Moss is there, it's very interesting to kind of see how that ends up going. But it's just so risky.
It is, yeah. But when you see that 24 carry number next to Zach Moss, it's like, where can you find that? On the waiver wire, but even just normal running backs getting that type of production. So it's almost impossible to not do something with those carries. So just something to think about. I think both. It could be a hot hand situation though, which is scary to start in the fantasy potentially championship or second round of your playoffs or whatever. So. But yeah, a guy I really like. We mentioned him last week again, Chuba Hubbard. I know he wasn't effective this week. The whole Panthers offense, I think they only had like 45 snaps as a team or something. But he outsnapped Deontay Foreman, 29 snaps to 14. He did have 3 catches for 57 yards, and that's 3 catches each of the last 2 weeks. So, if they can get back to more of a normal snap count and a game that they'd like to play, you could see him getting 10, 12 carries, 3 catches, and it will depend on what he does with those. But I do like Chuba Hubbard, and we talked about it way back before he got hurt that he was kind of he was the number one. It was definitely a split, but he was the main guy that they were giving touches to, and it makes sense. The younger guy, see what you got, a team that's in rebuild mode. So I still like Chuba Hubbard, and we'll kind of see where the Panthers game, hopefully the game script is good for them this coming week.
Yeah, and I mean, I guess I'll circle back to the Zach Moss. I pulled it up. He actually ran or was out for more snaps than any of the other running backs with 53. Also ran 14 routes. Those are some pretty solid numbers. So of the two, I'm definitely going to look towards Moss, who's also widely available. But I like Hubbard, and as we kind of touched on, I still think that Foreman's dealing with a foot injury, and that it was, clearly showing it's the pain that it's causing him. I don't even think he had a yard to carry this week, and that's just not what you're looking for in a running back. So, and this upcoming matchup for Chuba is pretty solid. I think it could very easily be something that benefits Chuba for sure. So it could be a good flex for you.
Yeah, and again, that possibility of catching the ball. Most people play some kind of PPR league or half PPR, so there's always that. And then just another guy to throw out there, Jermichael Hasty. ETN did get hurt; he came back, but if he is out, just kind of monitor the situation. If ETN's out, Hasty could be a decent play, especially in that Week 17. He gets Houston, and we know at Houston they just give up all the points to running back. So Hasty seems to be the guy if ETN's out. I think he played like 75 or 78% of the snaps one of the weeks that ETN missed. So there's always that. Just a situation to monitor for sure. I don't think you need to spend any priority on him because like we said, ETN came back, but monitor that situation. Jacksonville's kind of on that fringe, could be out of the playoffs here soon. Still in it, but it could be out. So monitor that and target Hasty if ETN is out.
Well, I hope they keep winning because I think their next matchup is one that we'd want them to win. It helps the Chargers move forward. Personal reasons, clearly, because we're biased on that one. But hey, go Jags here. we're wanting that for sure. But we'll move into wide receivers, and shocker, all the names you guys know, clearly DPJ seems to still be the one for the Browns. Even with Watson under center, he's seeing a lot of targets, being the leader there. I mean, Nico Collins, I don't know at this point. Him and Brandon Cooks kind of surprisingly out this week. We thought one of them would be back, but it seems like neither were, and that's kind of an issue. But Treylon Burks should still be back this week. He's still under 50% rostered for some reason. And I guess it's just because they're worried about injury. But the guy that I really love is Jahan Dotson. Back to it, baby. I was on him really early in the year. Absolutely loved him. 26.3% rostered. He did have an injury and didn't have that rapport built with Heineke. And I think the past 2 games against the Giants, he's kind of built that rapport up and has that trust of Heineke because week 13 saw 9 targets, 5 receptions, 54 yards and a touchdown. And this past, what was that, yesterday already? In a game that was controversial as all get out. I'm extremely frustrated with that outcome, but it's fine. We'll be okay. He saw 6 targets, 4 receptions, 105 yards and a touchdown. But man, those are just solid options. And this week against the 49ers, they are going to do the same thing because they saw how successful the Giants were at double coveraging Mike McLaurin, and it caused an issue. So if that's the case, Jahan Dotson is going to be somebody that you can see easily having a lot of targets and clearly running away with it. So that would be my pick. Is there somebody you prefer or other names that you want to mention?
Yeah, I like that pick, definitely. And I just want to mention, how is Donovan Peoples-Jones still making our list? It's amazing. I was just looking at it. He's wide receiver, I think 33 on the year in PPR, which again, that's a flex or a 3 wide receiver, 3rd wide receiver in some leagues. But since week 7, he's been like wide receiver 20. I don't know what it is. People just don't want to
trust the Browns.
Want to roster him. Trust the Browns, or I don't know. They don't like his name or something. I have no idea what it is, but he's a solid play. He's not going to, win you your week, but he's been solid for sure. But yeah, getting into a couple of guys that I have, it's more of just guys. You talked about the Texans situation. So if Cooks and Collins are out again, and even if just one of them's back, maybe it's a long shot. But Chris Moore, he's had 20 targets the last 2 weeks, and that type of number it's just the volume play, right? Like 20 targets, and you get your PPR leagues, and they play the Titans and Jags over the next 2 weeks. So those are both teams are in like the bottom third against wide receivers. So I like that if both Collins and Cooks are out. And then another guy that's just getting a lot of volume. Yeah, go ahead.
He actually led his team in snaps. Even over the quarterbacks, because clearly they've been splitting out too. He was on the field for 55 snaps. Mills was 52 and Dorsett was 54. So he's still out there a lot and saw 8 targets, which is leading his team this past week even. So
yeah, and he had I think 125 yards in week 14, and there's just not many guys you can find on the waivers that can give you 100+ yards. So the volume.
Outside of DPJ.
Yes. Yeah, but people don't like him for some reason.
Yeah, so it's fine. Go with the basic name. Go with Chris Moore. He'll gladly do your taxes this year.
Yeah. And then another one, Demarcus Robinson, kind of the same situation as Moore, where it's just he's the starting receiver on a team, and he's getting volume. He's 5+ catches each of the last 3 weeks. He's not doing much with those catches, but I hope if Lamar Jackson comes back, that whole situation improves and the offense is better, and he's getting more out of his touches there. But yeah, it's kind of a tough week for receivers this week. I definitely like Dotson and of course DPJ and the other guys that we've mentioned.
Yeah, and there's just, again, I feel like there's a lot of names out there, and just finding the one that's going to be the one who really sets himself apart, it's impossible. For example, Zay Jones, until this, I guess it was 2 weeks ago, was not over 50% rostered anywhere, and now he's over that percentage. And DJ Shark is another one who has been one of the ones who can consistently seeing targets. I mean, that's what you're looking for in a wide receiver. If they are seeing 6+ targets, you want them on your team. I mean,
yeah,
you want to have them rostered. You need to be able to plug and play them. They have that upside potential. One of the names I've actually been terrified of is Romeo Dobbs. With Watson kind of taking over that role, it just, I don't, if anything, I'm worried about Watson even having some issues, but they're both kind of deep threat receivers. But clearly, Watson's been the one getting targeted in the end zone, and that's all that seems to matter. So we'll see how it ends up looking tonight. I'm definitely curious on that.
Yeah, that's a good point. Keep an eye on Dobbs is tonight, or just what happens tonight. So yeah, Christian Watson's been a stud.
And I guess another name to kind of know is Ben Skoranek. I mean, he was the one who saw a lot of targets last week with Baker. If that ends up happening again tonight, I would be interested in rostering him. He's going to be probably a pretty consistent guy. I'd expect him to see 6+ targets and probably go for 40, 50 yards. I mean, you're getting double digits right there, and that's all you really need with the upside of breaking 100 yards, maybe. I mean, that's not really his game. That's more of a Van Jefferson role, but we're going to have to definitely watch and see what the Rams are going to do the next couple. It's not a fluke, Steve. Dobbs playing tonight in his first game since the Washington fluke started. Yeah. Hey, you're just mad because I got it right. It's fine. I understand being upset. So, and I like being right. So it works out great.
I think, what Christian Watson's been doing these last several weeks is what we expected kind of from Gabe Davis, I think. Just these big plays and touchdowns, and we haven't really gotten. I don't know. We'll see.
Yeah, well, it will be interesting if he finds the end zone again tonight. I think he is like over 60% of his targets are touchdowns. So fluke, but lucky. Yes, I would definitely say it's very lucky that he's finding the end zone because that's definitely helping. But we'll get into everybody's favorite segment. Make sure shop.importantnonsense.com. Get your Abolish the Tight End t-shirt because we're going to go to tight ends. And again, my guy continues to be my guy this year, Jawan Johnson, 15.6% rostered, widely available. It's driving me crazy. I understand it's super inconsistent, but so is Taysom Hill and every other wide receiver. This guy has been grabbing touchdowns, it seems like every week, but it seems like on a week, off a week. I'd probably say he scored 10 games this year. It's just incredible. And some of them are 2-touchdown games. Week 11 versus the Rams, 13.7. Granted, he had an injury week 12 versus the 49ers. Not sure. He ended up being out for that next weekend through the bye and then came back versus the Falcons, 22.7 fantasy points. Again, grabbing another touchdown. This is a team that Dalton just loves him. I mean, and he's kind of separated himself even from Troutman, who's now back and is being a more reliable target. And Dalton, I guess, is just looking for him straight up, and that's impressive to me. And I absolutely love his talent. It was somebody I was high on when he came in, and it's definitely good to see that this is where we're at. Do you have a tight end you like more?
Yeah, I'm not sure if I like him more, but again, we talked about him last week. Chigo Okonkwo, he's still doing it. Tight end 3 over the last 4 weeks now, and he's a young guy. He's a rookie. He's athletic. They give him even rushing attempts, which kind of shows like his ability, and they want to get the ball in his hands. He's had a carry each of the last 2 weeks, so we'll see when Burks comes back and is back at full strength. But he led the Titans in targets week 15. He's running more routes than Hooper. The big thing is, I think Tannehill is going to be missing time, and what are those quality targets from Malik Willis are you going to get? But yeah, it's nice to see because I've kind of liked Chigo since the beginning coming out of college, and so it's nice to see him doing something. Definitely a guy to just, if you're desperate, maybe a little bit deeper leagues, I think you can possibly play him.
Yeah, and it's just impressive. I mean, I am a little nervous. I think Burks will probably be back this week. Finally, that concussion protocol should be over, but definitely something to keep an eye on. And it's just been, I mean, he's been on a tear, that is for sure. He's had some really great weeks and really kind of, I would expect him to see more targets than Hooper upcoming, and so that definitely helps him as well. But
yeah,
we'll move into defenses, try and get us out of here before this Rams versus Packers. Yeah, this game's gonna be very interesting. I doubt it'll be super high scoring, but who knows? I would like it to go off the rails. That way I could potentially get the 40 points I need from Aaron Jones, but kind of doubt it. But defenses, again, I'm bringing up the Titans again, 27.1% rostered, and I'm scared. I'm not going to lie, because the Texans have been playing out of their minds, and that's who they play this week. But, man, I don't know what's going on with the Texans, what's kind of lit their fire, but they seem to have got it rolling, and the Titans they were able to, I guess, surprisingly keep the game within reach. they had that game under lock and key against the Chargers, who had all their weapons back, and I don't know if that's based on us and our OC issues or what that was, but they were, they put up 7 points against the Chargers. Yeah. I understand that they're hurt, but they still held the Chargers. But it's also the Texans. Yes. Well, maybe not. Actually, they go get up against the Cowboys. Cowboys have been playing decent.
Yeah. I think Philly falls into I'm most likely going to start them no matter who they're playing. They're just really good. But it also depends on who's on your waiver wire, I guess. But I think I would still play them.
I just don't love any of the matchups like this week. Actually, we'll lead into the one that I do like of yours. Can you talk about what your first defense is?
Yeah, first one, again, we talked about it last week, is the Chargers. Defense 9 the last 4 weeks. They gave you another 7 points against the Titans this last week. And they get the Colts. They get the Colts without Jonathan Taylor, most likely. Colts have given up almost 9 points on average since week 10. So they're one of the better teams that you want to see your defense playing in fantasy. So yeah, I like the Chargers again. And hopefully they can just give you another solid 6, 7, 8 points. Yeah. What do you think about that? I know maybe we're biased, but
a little biased, just a little biased, but
yeah, numbers are there.
Yeah. This was a defense that I was looking at just for playoffs, because again, they do have really good matchups coming up. This is one of them, for example, in a game that I'm going to say it and ruin it all, but the Chargers should win. Every game seems to be a close battle. And it's always not high scoring. It's because they are grinding it out and forcing teams to dink and dunk all the way down the field. And I think this continues to be the case, or run it, which thankfully the Titans did yesterday. Granted, Henry took off that long run from a pass that he caught and just blew up. So thankfully that helped. But again, it's even with those massive games, you aren't seeing a whole lot of teams go over 20 against the Chargers. It's those close, tight games that they're causing they're getting to the quarterback. They're causing pressure. They're making sure that that quarterback's hitting the ground on every play. And so I've loved this as an option, and I'm really high on the Chargers for sure. But but again, some bias, but at the same point, it's also matchup based, and the Colts. I was surprised last week because I also like the Vikings, and then the Colts came in and did that, and I was like, well, so much for the Vikings. That was a great stream, you dummy.
I know, that game was insane. Insane. Yeah, and then another decent matchup, good matchup really, is the Broncos' talented defense, the 8th best defense on the year this year, so they're good. And they get the Rams, and we always talk about it. The Rams have been just a really, really good matchup for this is going back to the whole year with Stafford, with Cooper Kupp. And now, those guys aren't going to be there. So I do like the Broncos as well as a matchup that you can target.
Yeah, and I guess I'll just throw this name out there because I don't know. I kind of looked in ESPN leagues, they were rostered too highly, but if they are available, I really like the Bucs this upcoming week. This past week, they looked really solid, holding a Bengals team, actually being a defense that, granted, even with short fields, they did a lot of work and were causing issues. if Brady didn't turn it over, I feel like that game could have been a lot closer than it was. And I think in a great matchup this week, they could definitely be another option for you. But
yeah, that's a good. And one more note. Sorry, going back to the Chargers is Colts this week, and then they get the Rams. So we're just talking about the Broncos playing the Rams. So that could be your fantasy championship, or the rest of the playoffs defense potentially.
Yeah, I actually looked into getting tickets to the LA Rams versus the Chargers, and man, it was $650 for a cheap ticket up in the nosebleeds, and I just couldn't bring myself to do it. But it was tempting. I mean, having both teams there, getting to see all of those stars, that would be definitely fun. But it's a home versus home. But man, it'll be fun, and that will be a even more surprising game. I'm very curious to see how Baker looks tonight. I think that's going to be a massive. But again, he'll have a full week. And so, speaking of, hey, most of the games were on Saturday this week, and 3 Sunday and 1 Monday. So we're having 5 games that aren't on a Saturday. So you have 11 games that are Saturday, and that's just crazy.
Yeah,
we're to that point.
We are there. Yeah.
But things to be aware of. Outside of that, thank you again so much, Mike. Any articles coming out this week? Anything you want to promote?
Yeah. Again, the trade article. Obviously, most leagues you can't trade anymore, so we're just kind of looking back and just analyzing some. This week will be some buy lows that we mentioned early on in the season that kind of hit, and just to improve trading overall for the future years. So, looking forward to that. And then, of course, in the Discord, we're always in there answering questions, and I really enjoy it. So.
Yeah, the Discord is definitely worth it. And we actually had somebody who just joined and they paid for their membership for the month by using our betting expert picks this week. And good for him. I mean, that's the whole point. We want those people to come in, get your money back, not even worry about it. It's $1 a month. If you want to get the betting picks, it's $3 a month, and you get full access to us, which is awesome. I mean, our team is great at important nonsense. I'm super excited for all of our guys continually do the hard work. I guess this is a fun question I could ask you. You're eliminated from the playoffs. You're in a keeper league. Are you looking at anybody in particular to pick up right now?
Yeah, I'd say any of these. A guy that kind of comes to my mind is a guy like Jameson Williams. That's a little bit of a risk because I don't know if we're going to see much from him this year. The Lions are winning without him, and they're always pretty safe with their guys. But just based on where he was drafted, the team he's on, he's someone like that I am targeting. Any of these young guys, maybe some injured guys. I'm trying to think of someone who comes to mind, but anyone that's been injured with not a serious knee or Achilles injury that most people have dropped, you can target some guys like that just to kind of start building for next year.
Yeah. And the whole reason I'm bringing this up, it's because of one name that I have continually been thinking about and keeping at the top of my mind, Calvin Ridley.
Yeah.
Nobody's thinking about him. He's been suspended because of his gambling issues with them having oh, great. There you go. Awesome list, because I also love Trey Lance. Jordan Love is a little iffy. Herbert, I understand. Kyron Williams. Yeah. I mean, those are great names, but Calvin Ridley is what I've been thinking of. I don't think even in ESPN's, I think he's under 1% rostered. And so that's somebody that I'm looking to pick up right now. And I'm going to toss away one of my junk picks in my IR spot and throw him in there and gladly keep him. I mean, it's yeah, exactly. Yeah. So it's going to be him and Kirk just tearing up, and we're seeing how much a coach changes a quarterback and how good Trevor Lawrence actually is. I mean, they continue to fight, and that's one thing I love about him. The fact they won that game is just great for great for us. I mean, the Chargers fan base was super happy that they won that game. So that a better version of Zay Jones is what I'm hoping for, Steve. But they do still have Zay Jones for, I think, the next 2 years. I think he's under contract for 2 more years. So definitely those are things that I'm looking at and excited for. So a name to kind of keep an eye on. And if you're in Keeper League and done, that's a great way to do it. So right now is your time to start picking up those players. Next week, we'll make sure to have a little bit longer list. We'll do some deep dives for that too, since I'm expecting our viewing audience to get a little smaller based on people getting eliminated. But hopefully you're still here with us. So best of luck to everybody tonight in your week 15 wraps up. And let's get ready for week 16. And as always, remember to keep up the nonsense.